Okay, so we'll call this meeting to order at, what do you have, Nicole?
I have 6 p.m. exactly.
6 p.m. exactly. So roll call, please.
Commissioner Smith stated he would be absent this evening. Commissioner Garai,
Present.
Vice Chair Southard,
Here.
Chairman Cooley.
Here. We do have a quorum, so let's go forward. And we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance, and we'll ask Mr. Souther to lead us.
Please right hand over your heart. Ready, you begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Are there any adjustments to the agenda? I see none. And any conflicts of interest disclosures that need to be made? And I see none. So then we'll move on to the next order of business, which is public comment period. This is for items not on the agenda. This meeting will be open to the public and conducted in a virtual format to be inclusive of all participation preferences. Public comment participation is encouraged by emailing any comments to the city clerk's office or by calling in using the phone number provided on front of the agenda. Do we have any public comments not on the for items not on the agenda?
I have no written requests. Rudy, do we have any callers on the line?
I have no callers on the line.
All right, we'll move on to the action items. And the first thing we need to do is the approval of the minutes. We're looking for a motion.
I move to approve the minutes.
I will second.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Garai,
Yes.
Vice Chair Southard,
Yes.
Chairman Cooley.
Yes. All right. So the next item on our agenda is the conditional use permit, CUP 2024-001, for a request for an ABC Type 41 on-sale beer and wine eating place license in a public convenience necessity finding at 410 East 6th Street.
Good evening, Chairman and Commissioners. Jillian Fountain, Planning Staff. An application for a conditional use permit for Type 41 on-sale beer and wine eating at a proposed restaurant, La Matina, previously Casa Palacios Mexican restaurant, was submitted to the city on February 15th, 2024. A public notice was placed in the Press Enterprise, and property owners within 300 feet were notified of this public hearing. No comments have been received to date. The municipal code allows alcohol sales subject to a conditional use permit. The previous owners of Casa Palacios did have a valid ABC license, though it was not transferred over to the new owners. The property is zoned downtown mixed use and has a general plan land use designation of downtown mixed use. The surrounding properties have a similar zoning and land use designation. The site is located within the downtown mixed use zone, and the site is currently developed with an existing restaurant building, formerly Casa Palacios. The use proposes to operate from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. 7 days a week, with extended hours until 11 p.m. on Fridays and Saturdays to accommodate weekend diners. Located within Census Tract 440, which allows one on-sale license based on the current population ratios, there are currently 12 on-sale licenses that are issued in this census tract, and a public convenience and necessity finding is required for the proposed application. ABC also recommends separation requirements of 600 feet from sensitive uses. The use is located at least 600 feet from schools, parks, places of worship as detailed in the staff report. ABC will not license a new retail location within 100 feet of a residence unless the applicant can demonstrate that the use will not interfere with the residents' enjoyment of their property. The site is located at least 300 feet from any existing residents in the area. The project is exempt from CEQA as a Class 1 existing facility categorical exemption. As a housekeeping item, we have amended finding number 11 in the staff report to read, "The use will not have an adverse effect on humans or the environment for any population. The proposed project will provide standard service typically provided in dining restaurant uses to serve all income levels of the population." The required CUP findings can be adequately met and are included in the staff report. At this time, staff recommends that the Planning Commission hold a public hearing and approve CUP 2024-001 and a public convenience and necessity, subject to the proposed conditions of approval, and direct staff to prepare an NOE for staff to file with the Riverside County Clerk Recorder. This concludes my presentation, and if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Is your microphone on?
We'll open this for the public hearing at 6:14.
I have no written requests. Rudy, do we have any callers on the line for this item?
I have no callers on the line.
And is there any commission discussion?
No discussion for me, just a comment. I think I enjoyed that restaurant before, so I'm excited to see someone kind of pick up the torch and provide some additional options. So to me, that's a good deal.
Yep, no comment from me either.
All right. I'll ask for a motion.
I move to approve.
I'll second.
And before I do roll call, can we officially close the public hearing?
Okay, we need to close the public hearing at 6:15. Now, do I ask for the motion again?
My motion. I move to approve. Sorry.
And we have a second. All right.
Commissioner Garai,
Yes.
Vice Chair Southard,
Yes.
Chairman Cooley.
Yes. All right, that moves us to the next agenda item, which is C3, the plot plan PP 2022-0440 and a variance V 2023-0120 and environmental ENV 2022-008, known as Orchard Logistics, located east of Western Knowles Avenue and south of State Route 60. We have a request to construct a 600,000 square foot high cube fulfillment warehouse with a 10,000 square foot mezzanine on 30.9 acres of manufacturing zoned land located at 38021 State Route 60 Freeway. We have a staff report, please.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Commissioners, Christina Taylor, Deputy City Manager, presenting this item tonight. As Chairman Cooley stated, before you this evening is a request to construct a high cube fulfillment warehouse on 30.9 acres of manufacturing zone land. The applicant is requesting adoption of environmental impact report, approval of a plot plan, and a variance. These applications were submitted to the city in March of 2022. The proposed project was submitted as a preliminary review in '21, and staff has been working with the applicant consistently on this project for the last couple years. The plot plan is required by Beaumont Municipal Code Section 1702070 to establish a new land use. The proposed land use includes construction of the 610,000 square foot warehouse with the 10,000 square foot mezzanine. There are site improvements that will be included, such as landscaping, parking, and all the required infrastructure to access and operate the site. The applicant is also requesting a variance, which the Beaumont Municipal Code does allow for. They are seeking relief from parking requirements. There is a requirement per the code which would require 640 parking spaces, and they're seeking a reduction down to 310 parking spaces. I'll get into that a little further into the staff report. There's an environmental impact report due to the scope of this project. It was determined that the EIR was required. This EIR is included in the staff report along with the draft environmental impact report, the mitigation monitoring and reporting program, and the draft findings of facts and overriding consideration, which Commission will be asked to adopt this evening. The part of this project is also requesting that the project be annexed into the Beaumont Cherry Valley Water District. If approved this evening, the applicant would then seek to be annexed in, and that would be processed through LAFCO. So just as a point of clarity, the project is within the city boundaries, but it was never officially annexed into the Beaumont Cherry Valley Water District boundaries. And even though they're the only agency that serves water to the city, this project would still be required to formally enter their service area. So it is part of the city, but they still need to deal with the water district. As stated, this project is on a 30.9 acre site. It is currently vacant, and many of us from this area are familiar that this is the site that formerly housed the Dowling Ranch Orchard. The site is unimproved and generally has power lines. It is occupied, or to the west, you have Wolverine Distribution and CJ Foods Manufacturing to the south. And then you have Icon Manufacturing located to the east of the property. On the north side, you have State Route 60, and then on the other side of the freeway would be the Urban Village. The information on surrounding uses is included in the staff report as well. But I will highlight the general plan designation on this project is industrial. The zoning is manufacturing. Surrounding south, east, and west contain the same designation, and Urban Village is to the north. So as we get into the specifics on site design, the 610,000 square foot building is located basically in the center of the property with circulation that goes around the entire building. The building includes bay doors on the east and west elevations. The project includes a modern style of architecture. It is a concrete tilt-up building, but it does incorporate decorative scoring, windows with to break up the planes of the buildings. It also proposes multiple planes on all elevations, and then the roof height varies between 45 and 50 feet, which is allowed for in the zoning code. A traffic analysis was prepared for this project by Urban Crossroads, and there were several recommendations included. Part of that is to recommend a stop control on the westbound approaches and implementing or making it an always stop controlled intersection. Vehicular circulation is comprised of external roadways and internal circulation. The internal circulation is generally designed to ensure safe movement throughout the project on the site. The site is adjacent to State Route 60. Only emergency access is available to the freeway at approximately a mile from the westbound ramp on Interstate 10 at 6th Street, and then the project is further away from other highways. Primary automobile access to the site is provided at driveway 1, which is at Prosperity and Distribution Way. A second driveway will accommodate truck access and is located at the cul-de-sac at the terminus of Nicholas Road. As we talked earlier about the parking variance that's requested, the code does require parking at a ratio of 1 space per 1,000 feet of gross floor area. With a 610,000 square foot building, that would require a minimum of 610 spaces. The project is requesting a variance to allow for 1 space for every 2,000 square feet of gross floor area. And this is supported by a parking evaluation, which was prepared by Urban Crossroads and is included as an attachment to this staff report. The project is consistent with the MSHCP, and it is located out of any MSHCP criteria area. MSHCP mitigation is provided through the payment of fees. This project was reviewed by the Development Review Committee. Staff from various city departments provided comments, and they have been incorporated into the conditions of approval, which are included in your staff report. As required and as appropriate, staff does analyze consistency with both the general plan and the zoning code in the city. And this proposed use is in conformance with the general plan. There are several policies cited within the staff report. Policy 3.4.1 is to continue to promote commercial and industrial development in the sub-area that capitalizes on the city's location near I-10 and SR-60. Policy 3.4.7 encourages the continued expansion of the city's industrial districts to accommodate economic growth. And Policy 4.6.1 states that prioritizing good movement along certain routes in the city, which are consistent with the truck network, to foster efficient freight logistics. And this project does meet all three of those goals. The use is subject to and is consistent with development standards for the manufacturing zone. The use does meet the objectives of the zone, and it is compatible with the surrounding uses. The proposed use also complies with zoning code requirements related to plot plans. All of the findings that are required in the municipal code are included in the staff report under the findings section at the end, and they can all be made positively. As stated earlier, a draft environmental impact report has been prepared to examine the potential impacts of the project. The proposed plot plan variance and final EIR have been completed. The formal public review and hearing process is underway now, and the draft EIR was circulated as required from November 14th, 2023 through December 28th, 2023. Any responses received during that time period were addressed in the final EIR, which is also included in this staff report as an attachment. The draft EIR addresses several potential issues associated with the project, including aesthetics, agriculture resources, air quality, greenhouse gas, bioresources, cultural, geology and soils, hazards, hazardous materials, noise, traffic and utilities, and several other categories. Mitigation measures are proposed for many of the impacts. They are summarized in Section 1 of the draft EIR, and all impacts of the project can be mitigated to less than significant levels, with the exception of greenhouse gas emission, noise, and transportation. So regarding those elements that cannot be mitigated to less than significant. So threshold A of greenhouse gas emissions, section of the finding of facts and statement of overriding considerations states that the project would generate GHG emissions either directly or indirectly that would have a significant impact on the environment. Project-related GHG and their contribution would be cumulatively considerable. The noise sections of the findings of fact and statement of overriding considerations state that the project would generate substantial permanent increase in ambient noise levels from off-site traffic, and that would be in excess of what's established as acceptable in the general plan or in the noise ordinance. The project would result in significant impact from off-site traffic-related noise, and even with rubberized asphalt and other mitigation measures, it would still be considered significant and unavoidable. Transportation, also significant and unavoidable. So the project would result in a significant VMT impact. The project is required to comply with mitigation measures identified in the staff report and in the attachments, and which would reduce the impacts to the extent feasible. However, the impacts would still remain significant and unavoidable. The project would result in cumulative VMT, also known as vehicle miles traveled, since the project was to have a significant since the project's baseline would exceed the current city's VMT per service population. The city does realize that the change to VMT analysis as part of CEQA would reduce the city's ability to require mitigation for traffic impacts. So as part of the general plan update, the city did retain the right to analyze for level of service in addition to VMT and require mitigation accordingly. So the project will be required to meet level of service D on a minimum of level of service D on improvements that are constructed. They will also be required for paying fair share for other necessary traffic improvements, as well as development impact fees and the TUMP fees, the Transportation Uniform Mitigation Fees. A complete list of mitigation measures are included in the staff report. Part of the action asked of Planning Commission tonight would be to adopt a statement of overriding considerations related to these specific issues: greenhouse gas, noise, and transportation impacts. So during the draft EIR 45-day public review and comment period, the city received numerous comments from public agencies, tribes, and private firms for a total of 13 letters. Copies of all correspondence have been provided to the Planning Commission, and they're in the final environmental impact report. In conclusion, the requests before the Commission are discretionary in nature and include a plot plan, a variance, and environmental impact report. I'm not going to read all those findings unless you guys really want me to. So we'll move to the requested action of Commission tonight. Staff is recommending that Commission hold a public hearing and certify the environmental impact report, adopt a statement of overriding considerations, and approve plot plan 2022-0440 and variance 2023-0120, and direct staff to prepare a notice of determination to file with the Riverside County Clerk Recorder. And adopt a mitigation monitoring and reporting plan. And that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. I believe our Public Works Director is on the Zoom. He is at a conference but has graciously joined us this evening. The applicant also has a presentation if the commission would be so inclined to hear it. It's purely at your discretion if you would like to take public or open the public hearing first and hear the presentation, or if you just want to do Q&A.
Okay, any discussion from the commission?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to see that presentation. I think that'd be a good way to let them explain on this, or we can go into public comment, but I'd like to hold our conversation until we hear their presentation.
Okay, the commission is requesting to hear that presentation and hold our comments until after the presentation. So we'll turn the time over to the...
Good evening. My name is Jared Reamer. I'm a Tremel Crow Company. We're the applicant and developer on behalf of Orchard Logistics. Tremel Crow Company, just for a little bit of background on us, we've been around for over 75 years. We've developed one of the largest developers in the country, and one of our basic values that we operate under are RISE values. That's respect, integrity, service, and excellence. That's something we really strive to bring to our communities that we develop in. We try to be an active member of our communities and participant, both through labor and through being involved with local organizations. We're also very committed to sustainability as one of our key features, and I've incorporated a lot of those features into the project, which I'll go over in a minute. So I have before you kind of a list of, we've been very active in Riverside County over the last decade. We've developed several million square feet in the Meade Valley area in unincorporated Riverside County, and in other local jurisdictions. And so we spent a lot of time specifically in Riverside County. We've been in Beaumont 14 years ago now, but haven't been active in the city since. And this is our first project in the city in a while, but we hope it's one of many in the future. What we really try to do is build community relationships and stay active in a community for a long period of time, and do a lot of work in one area because we think it's, we learn to to develop what the community needs and be a good community partner. So the project before you tonight is Orchard Logistics Center. I'm sure you all know it as the Dowling Fruit Stand, located directly off the State Route 60. The Dowling Orchard is surrounded by industrial uses in the State Route 60 to the north. And so there's no sensitive receptors within 1,000 feet of the project. Trammell Crow Company came to acquire the Dowling Fruit Stand after having a relationship with John Dowling 14 years ago when we worked on the first project that was later developed into the Icon facility. We've kept in touch with John and the Dowling Trust over the years, and when the State Route 60 had a median installed that prevented the left turn into the property, John told us he lost nearly 70% of his revenue at the site, which forced him to go out of business, essentially. Without those turn movements, he just didn't get the amount of traffic that he had before. I think we all recognize that was probably a dangerous intersection and needed to be closed anyway, but unfortunately, it had the impact of putting out of business a long-standing community grocery store. So the Dowling Family Trust reached out to Trammell Crow Company, and we purchased the property in December of 2021 and have been working with staff since early 2022 to develop this industrial property. So what you have before you is our 600,000 square foot, it's cross-docked modern logistics building. This is speculative. We don't have a tenant for it at the moment, but we build most of our property speculative and have a very good understanding of what tenants need in the market. And so we built this to suit the widest variety of tenants. It's also completely conforming with the city's general plan and zoning for the site and the adjacent land uses. We also try to do best-in-class design and attractive architectural design of properties. We have our architect here, is Architects Orange, so we'd be happy to answer any questions you may have on that front. As I mentioned, sustainability is one of our key principles that we like to incorporate into every one of our projects. So this project will be LEED Silver at a minimum. We might do higher if we end up, once we kind of calculate the points and can get a full total. But the project features are going to incorporate kind of numerous best practices for sustainability features. Most importantly, we're doing an elective 500,000 kilowatt solar system on the rooftop. And we've upgraded the solar structure, the rooftop structure to accommodate future solar upgrade in the event we have a tenant that utilizes more power than a typical warehouse user. Right now, it's kind of sized for a typical warehouse user, and we can't really go beyond that unless someone has a specific demand. We've also incorporated electric vehicle ready stalls and future stalls for expansion and an expandable electrical service that could accommodate cargo handling equipment, that's the yard equipment, forklifts will all be electric, and future truck electrification, which at this point in time doesn't have a standard to it and needs some design worked out, but it's something we're building into these properties for future-proofing them. We are seeking annexation into the Beaumont Cherry Valley Water District. We've already gone through the will serve process with them and have agreed to incorporate a well site on the northwest corner of the property. And as soon as we get through the planning commission process, we will continue with the LAFCO annexation process. We have our partners here, which is the Liuna Carpenters and Care union organizations that will construct the property for us. And we've done an economic benefits analysis to help support the approval of the project and the statement of overriding considerations. I can go through some of the details here, but I can kind of skim through this quickly, and if you have any questions, we can hit it. But high level, we expect 738 new jobs at this property and a significant boost not only to personal incomes for the residents, but also the city. So we expect $600,000 a year in additional property tax revenues, $59,000 a year in additional sales tax revenues during operation, plus another $166,000 sales tax revenues during construction. This is per a report provided by Andrew Chang and Company for the project. This does not include potential point of sale on the property if we were to have a fulfillment center or an e-commerce tenant, which is a tenant we would love to land, but we just don't have anybody in mind at this specific moment. But we do incorporate building features that attract those tenants, and we put them into these buildings at other locations. We'll also be funding infrastructure improvements in the form of TUMP fees, fair share impact fees for the Portero interchange and a couple other interchanges at the area, and the new well site for Beaumont Cherry Valley Water District. So with that, I'd open it up to any questions. And thank you for your time.
Any commissioner have any questions?
Is there a dollar amount on the contribution to Potrero?
It's, our impact is less than 1% of the total, so I think it's a 0.9% fair share fee of the total.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any others?
I'd like to focus on those 3 points that we talked about, the noise, the transportation, and the environmental piece. Is there a way you can expand on that, and what are some of the ways you're gonna try to mitigate that stuff aside from what's been written on there?
Yeah, so I'll start quickly, then I have my team here who can get into more of the technical details. But noise is something that's really caused by the off-site traffic, and it's not something within the control of the property. I will tell you that one of the things we look at is just truck routes, and all the noise impacts associated with this site are for local truck streets that are not adjacent to sensitive receptors and are just kind of the path of travel near the project. The VMT analysis, actually, why don't we just take one at a time? Nicole, you want to come up and elaborate more on noise? I do.
Good evening, Nicole Morris, TMB Planning. We prepared the environmental impact report for this project. We also have Urban Crossroads here who prepared the technical studies for air quality, GHG, health risk, noise, and traffic, along with VMT. So the city has a very strict standard with respect to the traffic noise. That's the only noise impact that occurred with respect to this project. Construction was less than significant. The on-site operation was less than significant. But with respect to off-site traffic noise, it doesn't take account for any sensitive receptors. So the area has a pretty high ambient noise level, and the project would increase somewhere between 1 decibel and 3.5 decibels. And that would be an impact according with the city's threshold. Barely perceptible is 3. So to give you some context. And it all goes through the industrial areas.
If you can also include the time, when was all this stuff recorded? Is there a period in the day, or is it just an average?
This is based on average. Well, we do, yeah.
Hi, I'm Bill Maddox with Urban Crossroads. I prepared the noise study. They're based on the CNEL and the 24-hour noise level, so it accounts for the fluctuation of traffic during the day and night.
Average. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
For clarification, and we have a lot of technical terms come out here, but for homeowners and others that aren't really in the technical world of this, we're talking about increasing noise in an area that's already industrial and that. We're not talking about noise going out into a neighborhood or a residence, correct?
That's correct.
Thank you.
So moving on. As you know, VMT is now the trigger for whether or not there's a traffic impact. It's no longer based on LOS. So we do have a significant traffic impact, VMT related. It exceeds the city's threshold. That's mainly because you have trucks that are, traveling miles, and we have one mitigation measure in here. It's to prepare a transportation demand management program. And that would include things like carpool participation, compressed work schedules, but that still is not really, we don't have the ability to really measure how much that would reduce the amount of miles traveled, and that's for the employees only. So that's why you have a significant impact there. And then greenhouse gas, this is very typical of a building of this size. I think anything over 300,000 square feet is going to trigger this impact. We've incorporated 10 different mitigation measures to address this impact, building efficiency measures. Again, that TDM program also will reduce those impacts. Solar, and then plugins for any TRUs in the event that there is cold storage. But it still won't get below the bright line threshold of 3,000 metric tons. Was there any other questions? Yep.
Thank you. Are there any, we'll open for public hearing at about 6:40. Are there any requests to speak?
I do have some written requests in person. I have a written comment. And let me check if we have anyone on the phone lines. Rudy, did we have any callers on the line?
I have no callers on the line.
Okay. I'd like to start with the in-person. First speaker is Jonathan Daly.
Good evening. My name is Jonathan Daly. I wrote down what I wanted to say tonight so I don't ramble. I could stay on track. Sometimes I just like to hear myself speak. So, like I said, my name is Jonathan Daly. I'm a Marine Corps veteran. I'm a very proud member of LIUNA Laborers Union. I'd like to start by thanking you all for allowing me to speak on behalf of all of our members and families that we work so hard to support. One thing I would like to highlight is our state recognized apprenticeship program, which ensures a constant skilled workforce for the future. Projects like these give us a chance to give back to our community, give some a second chance in life like myself, and put food on our tables. These meetings are extremely important for us because these projects allow us to continue to work and not worry about where our next job will be and that the people we love will be taken care of. That being said, I can tell you that this is a very responsible developer who will provide great union contractors who will supply a well-trained union workforce who builds to the highest standards and over 700 jobs. That sounds incredible. It's an absolute honor to be a part of that. We ask you please move forward with this project and allow us to continue to build and serve our community and provide for our families. Thank you and have a great night.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Zach Strassers.
Hi, good evening, commissioners. Thank you for your time this evening and city staff. So I want to first of all say my name is Zach. I'm with CARE California, and I want to applaud Trammell Crow on a great project. A few points I want to bring up. First of all, solar on the roof, a must for warehouses at this stage in the industry. EV-ready stalls and prep for future stalls. Electrical prep in design for handling equipment and truck electrification for future electric fleets. This is what warehouses should be transitioning to across the industry. Trammell Crow did a great job again with this project. They've been working with the city through design and annexation. You can see that there are different labor groups and community that are on board all across sectors of the community. 738 new jobs, which they mentioned in their presentation. That's a huge win for the community. And those don't just mean construction like the guys here tonight, but logistics, warehouse, entry-level management. So you see a huge community benefit to this project. And then when you look at Beaumont, at roughly, I think 4.9 is the current unemployment level. That generates a lot of benefit for an area, not only the parcel itself, which is the former orchard, but the parcel to the north, that nothing was happening, right? So we're seeing a huge benefit there. And if you listen closely to the presentation, some of the stuff really stood out. For example, $1 million annually, not only in receipts, but property tax in revenue for the city, okay? So those are huge benefits. So you don't always see those with warehouses. And they did their due diligence. It's evident here. And that's part of the reason that CARE California is supporting this project tonight. So we're asking that you would recommend this project to City Council. We appreciate your time. Have a good night. God bless you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Saul Amezquita.
Good evening, Planning Commission, staff. We're here with the Carpenters Union. My name's Salvador Amezquita. I'm one of the reps. I represent about 5,100 members. And I want to say I have here about 6 members alone that come from Beaumont, Cali Mesa, and Banning that do tilt-ups, that are constantly on these projects, having to travel from here to Los Angeles, San Diego, Orange County, and bring these projects close to home. Really gives them a lot of time to spend with their families. I mean, the project seems like it's going to be the state-of-the-art project. It looks like it's the future of warehouse development. They're bringing in the new impacts, the new mitigating impacts, as far as, like he mentioned, the solar on the roof and electrifying the trucks. So we're just here in support. We're here hoping that you approve this project, and we'll see you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Next speaker is John Sisley.
Hi, my name is John Sisley. I'm a business agent for the plumbers, pipe fitters, and refrigeration for San Bernardino and Riverside counties. I'm also a delegate to the Building Trades Commission, State of California, and a delegate to the Central Labor Council. I'm also an ex-United States Army Airborne Ranger. I live at the Olive Wood community. I think we're the closest housing tract to that area. I can tell you with the development in that area, if you added this project, it would not matter one bit as far as noise or pollution to us in that community. I think there's a time and a place for everything when it comes to development. I think that's the place for development. I think the general plan has those warehouses south of the 60 where that project is located. And it's the time, because we've got a great agreement on this job. It's going to put all these union folks to work. Not only that, we're going to get a chance to try and organize those warehouses, which we're doing currently, trying to get Amazon and some of these other folks on board with better paying jobs. But we don't get that opportunity unless you build it. So I urge you to please approve this project tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then I have one written comment to read. Good evening. My name is Stephen Pipecorn, and I'm with the Golden State Environmental Justice Alliance. We submitted a comment letter to the draft environmental impact report. Our letter identified several deficiencies with the EIR. During these turbulent times, we as citizens expect and deserve our local governments elected and appointed officials to protect us from environmental and social injustice, to aid in the preservation and rehabilitation of the environment in which we all share, and to ensure accountability and responsibility regarding the environmental decisions they may make. We stand by our comment letter and believe the EIR is flawed and must be redrafted and recirculated for public review. In closing, we call on this commission to be a leader of the aforementioned issues and be the first line of defense for our citizenry and environment. Only by working together we can continue to be excellent stewards of our environment, outstanding stewards to our citizens and each other. Thank you. And I'd like to just double check we don't have any other callers on the line. Rudy, do we have any callers?
I have no callers on the line.
No other speakers.
Okay, then we'll close the public hearing at about 6:52. And I'm going to ask for a motion. The motion is to hold the public hearing, certify the environmental impact report, adopt a statement of overriding consideration, make modifications, adopt mitigation monitoring and reporting program, approve the plot plan and variance, and subject to the attached conditions of approval, and direct staff to prepare a notice of a determination for the applicant to file with Riverside County Clerk. Do I have a motion?
I'll go ahead and move to approve. I think we hear a lot in the community about, residents. I know sometimes they'll have concerns about warehouses coming in the community, and what I hear a lot is we want them to be in the right place. And I think this project, when you look at what's around it, this is the right place. It's zoned for industrial. It's surrounded by industrial. I think it makes sense here. It's going to bring a lot of revenue to the city, new jobs here locally. So I'm going to be inclined to approve.
Do I have a second?
I kind of want to have more of a discussion about the variance for the parking. I really want to talk about that because I keep hearing that 700 new jobs, but we're only asking for 300 spaces. And I remember we talked about this before where there was an issue of over parking on those streets there. So I just want to make sure with staff, are we going to be, is there anything in there that says, hey, we have to make sure that folks aren't parking in the street?
Yes, so on-street parking would not be permitted as part of this. They have to provide parking on-site. The issue in one of the, it's addressed in the condition here. The issue that we have with the parking on the street in that area has to do with a different type of use. It's an intensive manufacturing use where there are a significant number of employees on shift every shift. And so it's a lot different than we're talking about a warehouse distribution fulfillment center where there's less employees, less intense uses, and they're rotated differently. The applicant did prepare a memo for justification if you would like to hear from the consultant from Urban Crossroads who prepared that. Staff has ensured through the conditioning process that if something such as manufacturing would be going into that building, that it would have to be revisited. So we would not permit that type of use as a part of this approval process.
Perfect. That was my only concern.
Okay.
And then I want to support his motion, so I move a second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Garai,
Yes.
Vice Chair Southard,
Yes.
Chairman Cooley.
Yes. Thank you for your participation.
Thank you.
We have just a couple more little things to handle. Normally, we would have the planning commissioner comments, but the planning commissioner has her designee here who's going to give those comments for us.
You know, I know Planning Manager Kendrick always gives you guys like a very robust report on things that have been going on. I don't have anything nearly that robust prepared for you this evening. I would just encourage everybody to take a look at the city's calendar online. We have a number of exciting events coming up. This weekend, there's an Easter egg hunt out at one of the parks for the tweens and teens. We have a fire station grand opening that's forthcoming. We're getting ready to be opening our customer service area here in the hallway at City Hall so we can provide closer and better service to our residents, along with a number of other very exciting things. So that concludes my report, but I am happy to answer any questions that you all may have.
Any questions? All right.
No questions.
Wait, City Clerk may have had something to say here.
Your mic wasn't on, so we weren't catching that last bit of it.
Okay, so the next regular meeting of the Beaumont Planning Commission is scheduled for Wednesday, April 10th, 2024 at 6 p.m. unless otherwise posted online at www.beaumontcalifornia.gov. And so that adjournment will be at approximately 6:57 p.m. And hopefully for the next public meeting, we can have some synchronization of the clocks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.